Picture two animals standing side by side. One feeds the entire planet. The other one you probably keep as a pet. A rabbit burns about 3 pounds of feed for every single pound of meat. A chicken pulls it off on roughly 2. So chicken wins, case closed. Not so fast, because your own government once begged people to eat rabbit instead of chicken. For years, they pushed it hard. So how did chicken explode into a $100 billion empire, while rabbit stayed a tiny hobby? Just a handful of backyard farmers. Let's dig into the numbers first. They matter more than you'd think. A chicken turns 2 pounds of feed into 1 pound of weight. That's one of the best conversion rates in nature, in the entire animal world. It's a huge reason chicken conquered the planet. A rabbit needs closer to 3 pounds for the exact same gain. That's a big loss on paper, but that number hides a secret. A rabbit can hit its ratio on grass and weeds, on hay and kitchen scraps. Cheap roughage a chicken can't survive on. A chicken demands grain, and grain has never been cheap, so rabbit loses the efficiency race. But it can win on what actually goes in the bowl. Now look at the protein. Rabbit meat packs close to 33 grams per every 100 grams. That beats chicken breast pound for pound. And it does it with less fat, with fewer calories too. It's also low in sodium and cholesterol. Basically a marketing team's dream meat. On paper, rabbit should be everywhere. The health food everyone chases. And this is not some new discovery. Rabbits grow fast and breed non-stop. One doe can have 4 to 6 litters a year, 6 to 10 babies in every litter. Do the math. One rabbit can outproduce almost any backyard animal alive, so the nutrition is there, the cheap feed argument is there. Something else must explain the mystery. Why rabbit never made it to dinner? The first clue is buried in history, and it's weirder than you'd guess. During World War II, the government pushed rabbit hard. Beef and pork were rationed, so officials told families to raise rabbits at home. Magazines printed rabbit recipes. Victory Gardens got a furry little sidekick, multiplying in backyard hutches everywhere. For a few years, rabbit eating climbed. Then the war ended. And something strange kicked in, something no other meat ever faced. Rabbits had a branding problem, not a taste problem, not a cost problem, a branding problem. In the 40s and 50s, chicken was industrializing fast, but rabbits were becoming cartoon stars. Bugs Bunny, Thumper, the Velveteen Rabbit. A whole generation of kids grew up loving rabbits. As pets, as friends, as Easter baskets, not as dinner. Try selling a meat that's a beloved cartoon, one that outsmarts the hunter every Saturday. Now compare that to chicken. Chicken never had a mascot problem. Chickens were already just livestock in people's minds. Farm animals, not household names. There was no emotional hurdle to clear. But squeamishness alone can't sink an industry. The real reason is far less romantic. It comes down to infrastructure. In the years rabbit could have taken off, chicken changed forever. Companies like Tyson built giant operations, vertically integrated top to bottom. One company controlled the breeding, the feed, the processing, the distribution, all under one roof. The USDA built a huge grading system for poultry. Slaughterhouses were designed just for chicken, assembly lines moving thousands of birds an hour. Rabbit got none of that. There was no national rabbit grading system. Rabbit processing stayed small and regional, and expensive to run, because demand was never big enough. Not enough to justify the machines, and that created a brutal trap. Low demand kept processing small, that kept rabbit meat expensive, which kept demand low. A cycle that fed itself. Chickens smashed out of it in the 50s. Contract farming and vertical integration did it. Rabbit farmers never got the money, or the customers to build the same machine. Then there's the human side. Farmers have talked about it for decades. Rabbits are quiet. They don't trigger the same detachment, the kind other livestock does. Many farmers say rabbits are harder to process, both logistically and emotionally. A chicken doesn't look at you, not the way people describe rabbits doing. Sounds tiny, right? But multiply that across every worker on a line, and it becomes a real problem. One chicken plan's never had. So does that settle it? Not quite. Because there's a twist most people miss. Chicken didn't win because it's simply better. It won because it was easier to standardize. Chickens lay eggs you can incubate in batches, massive batches at once. Their growth is remarkably uniform. Processors know exactly how big a bird will be, on exactly which day. That predictability is worth more than feed cost. Rabbits come in uneven sizes. They're harder to schedule at scale, more waste, more sorting, on top of a feed ratio that already favors chicken. And here's a truth nobody likes saying. Meat industries don't grow because a product is better. They grow when someone makes it cheap, and consistent, and familiar. Cheap enough to buy without thinking. Chicken hit all three. Rabbit never got the chance to try, because nobody built the machine to make it cheap. So where does that leave the real question? Should you be eating rabbit instead of chicken? Nutritionally, there's a genuine case. Leaner protein, lower cholesterol, a taste somewhere between chicken and pork. On raw feed conversion, chicken still wins. No argument there. But rabbits thrive on forage and scraps. Scraps that would just get thrown away. That's where the real savings hide, not in the conversion ratio itself. Still, the honest answer is simple. Rabbit isn't replacing chicken anytime soon, and it's not really about the animal. It's about 70 years of infrastructure. Infrastructure chicken has, and rabbit never got. Slaughterhouses built for birds by the thousands, grading systems written into national law, fast food chains that made chicken a $5 meal. None of that exists for rabbit, and building it would cost a fortune nobody has a reason to spend, because chicken already solved the problem. Maybe the bigger question is different. Not why we don't eat more rabbit, but what it would take to build an industry from nothing, in a country already full of cheap, accepted meat. Rabbit didn't lose on the feed math alone. It lost because chicken got a head start, a 70-year head start. And by the time anyone checked the numbers, the gap was already too wide. There are still small rabbit farms out there, in France, in Italy, in parts of China, places where rabbit never carried the cartoon baggage. It just stayed a normal part of dinner. And consumption there never crashed, not like it did in America. So the animal was never the problem. The timing was. Next time you stand in the meat aisle, imagine another version of history. One where the rabbit boom never stalled. Where rabbit got its own factories, its own fast food chain, its own spot beside the chicken breast. It's not a fantasy. It just never got the 70 years chicken did. Lean. Cheap to feed if you've got scraps. And quietly worth a second look. Rabbit has almost everything chicken has, except the machines built around it. So if you ever get the chance, try rabbit. From what everyone says, it tastes a lot like the meat you already love.